Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Oh, I just took a look at a couple of spaces. I just took a look at a couple of spaces that Silicon Dojo might move to. And they were beautiful. They were so beautiful. They were just like blocks of space. They were just big ass rooms. Oh, this is exciting. This is exciting. So I had somebody over from the local tech community to see what Silicon Dojo was up to yesterday, and they said the facility that they're in has rooms. So then I went over today and took a look at the rooms. They have nice rooms. They have nice, just blocks of space. Oh, they were pretty blocks of space. Pretty blocks of space. So, anyways, there's at least two blocks of space. There's two, maybe three blocks of space. So they're gonna give me some information on how much those blocks of space cost. Oh, I'd love to make those blocks of space my home. I'd love to take those blocks of space and take them out back behind the barn and just do nasty things to them. They're just so beautiful, you know what I'm saying? Oh, just a block of space. So it's in like it's in a building around here that has like a lot of other tech companies and that type of thing. So one thing to think about, like with your business, one of the things I've talked about before is thinking about how you are going to get traffic to your business. And so, you know, basically selecting the location for your business based off of things like walk by traffic and all that kind of stuff. One of the things I've talked about before is one of the values of retail space. People look at retail space and it's, you know, half to twice as much as office space, and they laugh at it. But the thing is, especially like if you're in the tech world, you know, if you gain one additional customer per day simply walking by, right? If they drop $100 per day, you know, that's $700 a week. That's $2,800 a month. You know, $200 per customer, if that's your profit per customer, that's $5,600 per month. So, you know, you might be looking at an office space and you're like, well, this office space costs, you know, $2,000 a month, and a retail space costs, you know, $4,000 a month. It's ridiculous to get a retail space. Well, that additional $2,000 you're spending to get a retail space may net you, well, it'll gross you an additional, let's say 5,600, then nets you an additional 3,600, right? So by spending $2,000 more, you may profit $3,600 more. Right, one of those things to be thinking about when you rent space, and there's a lot of, like, when you think about synergy and you think about like walk by traffic, there's a lot of different ways that you can have walk by traffic. So one of the interesting things here is that it's around a lot of the other tech companies and a little about the startup ecosystem they're trying to create in Nashville. Say that with a straight face. The startup ecosystem in Nashville. Anyways, right? A lot of tech people there, a lot of coders there, a lot of other startup-y type things. And so, see, you know how I work. You know how I work. Like my employees used to laugh at me when I had my computer repair shop, because literally we would have customers that would walk in and they'd be like, yeah, I was at Best Buy and Eli came up to me and started explaining things to me. So I decided I was going to hire you guys instead. I literally got a client once standing in line at another local computer repair shop. So it's like I didn't do laptop repair at that point because I didn't realize how easy laptop repair was, right? Anyway, so I went there. They were a pain in the ass computer repair shop, but they repaired laptops. And so I had a client, I needed a laptop repaired, so I was in line. And as I was in line, I was talking to another customer in line, and yeah, I poached that customer literally while I was in the line of another small computer repair shop. One of the reasons you want to get customers in and out as quickly as possible, because you never know when a customer is actually your competition and they're going to poach one of your customers literally from line. Anywho, before we go that far down, the point is, right? If we have startup companies and they're trying to bring investors in, they're trying to bring other folks in, and I'm just like, hi. Oh, are you here to about that company? Oh yeah, they're a really great company. Do you know what I'm doing? When you're done with the reason that you're here, why don't you stop down to the dojo and see the cool things that we're up to, right? Walk by traffic in the office world. So anyways, I'm excited about that. So I went there again. They have nice big blocks. The good part about it is I pay for the block, and then electricity and internet is included. Again, one of the things to be thinking about whenever you get these places is what's included and what's not included. So it's however much per square foot. Electricity and internet are included. The only thing is though, like there's this weird like it's a triple net. So then on top of how much it is, then you pay like an extra $2 per square foot per year or something for taxes and facilities costs or something. So depending on how big the room is, that might actually be a little bit of money. So I don't know. We're gonna have to figure out how much this thing actually costs. That's one of the problems too when you go out to rent a space. Is even if you see a space you like, and even the whole 9 yards, like there's all of these different fees and everything. So basically they were telling me, I think this is $20 a square foot. So it's like $20 a square foot. So it's about 1,000 square feet probably. And so doing the rough math, that's like $1,800. I'm like, it's a little bit higher than I want to go, honestly. But for the right location, pretty nice block, plus electricity and all that included, that's not too bad. But then it was like, oh, and it's a triple net. I'm like, okay, well, what's the additional on the triple net? It's like, well, it's about $2 per square foot per year. So it's like, okay, so for 1,000 square foot, then that's about $2,000, which comes out to about $150 a month, which then pushes us up to like $1,950 a month. And you're like, yeah, what do you pay for? What do you don't pay for? And again, it's all about what comes in and what comes out. So right now we're actually in the black. So here we're in the black. So actually we go over there. Like that's the thing, I have a funding round. I basically have a funding round sending to my bank account from Eli the computer guy. So then it's like, well, if I'm making this much money already, and then I take the money out of Eli the computer guy basically to pay for that, and then we have that nice space, that will probably allow us to grow better. Yeah, it's all this. Again, that's a whole thing for entrepreneurs. For entrepreneurs, it's not like there's this thought that we know what the answer is, that we have this plan in our head and then we do the plan. That is not how this works. That is not how any of this crap works. I should not, if I was working the plan right now, I would not have an office space. I honestly wouldn't be making money. None of this would be happening. So anyways, I don't know, I'm very excited about that. It's a nice place. It's got parking. So it's not far away. It's only a couple of blocks away from here. So that's one thing. I like the downtown area, but there's some problems with the downtown area. Things like parking and all that kind of stuff. So they have their own parking. They have a lot of parking there. So they have their own, they're only a couple blocks away. They have their own parking. It's with other techie type companies on other startup type stuff. It's a block. It's just like one big ass thunk of a block. Sexy. Sexy. I don't know. So anyways, they're gonna get they're gonna do the math and then they're gonna get back to me. That's the other hard part when you're renting space, because it's all like square footage, and you can't just be like, I want 1,000 square feet. I will take this isn't like going to the deli. It's not like going to the deli and you say like, I want 1,000 square feet of block, and they give you 1,000 square feet and then you pay however much it is per pound. It's like, okay, we've got these rooms, and so this is how much we want per square foot. So now we have to go do the math and see how many square feet this is. It's like, okay, can we just say it's 1,000? Can we just say it's 1,000? How about this? How about we do it like the Tesla way of doing things? I'll rent the room. I will rent 1,000 square feet of this room, and I simply won't use the rest of the square footage unless I pay you to unlock the additional square footage. Can we do that? Probably not. So anyways, I don't know. They have to get back to me. But it's nice. Oh my! It was kind of funny. It was kind of funny because they showed me the really nice one. There's a nice room. So there's one nice room, and so you go in. And it's kind of a weird position, but it's got light coming in. It's got light coming in. It has skylights coming in. It has a separate office, which is nice. So it's like a 10 by 10 office space. So I could actually have like my own office and close that off. And I was looking at that, and okay, I can probably handle this. And then we're sitting there talking. It's like, yeah, I heard there was you had some other space, like these auditoriums or whatever you were thinking about renting. And I was like, yeah, well, if you want to see, if you like this, we can rent you this. But if you want to see and so I was like, yeah, sure. Again, always make sure, get as much information as possible. You are there already, right? So get as much information as possible. Oh my God. We went down the hall, we took a left, we went. You get there, and this door opens, and it's just a block of space. It's just this beautiful, gorgeous, purple block of space. I'm like, I want the block of space. Can I have this one? How much less is this one? Yeah, that one up front. Yeah, that was all fancy and had skylights and things. Skylights cost money. Can I have this one and not pay for skylights? I mean, I like the skylights and all, but if we can shave a couple of dollars per square foot off of this thing, that would be lovely. So I don't know. That'd be exciting. And they're pretty flexible for the move-ins because I still have like 4.5 months of lease on this. So again, that's one of the problems you run into when you get a lease. When you get a lease, that's a contract, right? You're not paying per month. You're basically paying for the entire lease. And so, for this, right, I still have like 4.5 months of lease. And so that was my other concern. Like, I don't really want to walk out of this space that quickly. Not that I'm not willing to eat a little bit of the rent on this, but I don't want to eat that much of the rent on this. And so talking with them, and they're going back and forth, it's like, well, actually there's things going on, so we can be flexible in the move-in. So it could be like 2 or 3 months away. So I could lock in a space over there, move in 2 or 3 months. Then I only have to walk away like I'm for a month or two from the contract here, and that would be a good thing. So these are all the things you have to ponder. These are all the things you have to think about. Again, that's one of the reasons that if you're going to rent a space for Silicon Dojo or whatever you're going to do, make sure you get the shortest lease possible. The reason you want the shortest lease possible is because if you have to walk out of the lease, then you're contracted to fewer monthly payments. So anyways, I don't know, I'm excited about that. It's like, it's just a block of space. Made my nips hard. Again, all the youngins out there, they're like Xeon servers and bezels. Screw bezels. I just want a big ass block of space. Big ass purple block of space. It does have a window too. It's only one window. I would miss these windows, but at least you still get the sunlight. Give me the geek, like looking out the window. Oh my God, the world still does exist. That's the only thing. It doesn't have as good a view. Does not have as good a view. Can't argue that. I love this view. This is a really nice view. But that's a nice block of space. Anyways, I don't know. They're gonna do some math, and they're gonna send me something. We're gonna see how it goes. I want that block of space. Because then, like with that block of space, then I can just do Silicon Dojo. Because again, at about 1,000 square feet, again, as I've talked about before, like at 1,000 square feet, then nobody's tripping over anybody. Like I don't want 50 people in here. That was the thing. I was actually talking to them too about things like occupancy permits, stuff they have to think about. And I was like, yeah, so with this facility, is there any kind of like occupancy permit? And basically he said, as long as you have less than 49 people, there's no occupancy permit problems. I'm like, great. I do not want 49 people in my room. 20 would be nice. 30 might be nice. There is no part of me that wants 49 people at Silicon Dojo, at least at any one time. So, good stuff. I'm excited. Silicon Dojo. We could be, because again, if we go there, again, it's like this little tech center thing. So if we go there, we get a nice, nice whatever for the rental space, nice price for the rental space. We have parking, we have everything else. We have the crowdfunding coming in from you folks. We have my little funding round to keep us going. I don't know. I mean, that could definitely be exciting. So anyways, we shall see. But this is how business goes. And again, this is why you need to talk with people. Again, as I've said, it sounds like I'm being all, I don't know, metaphysical or whatever. But when I talk about God's ears, like, do you ever think about the anatomy of God? And I know this sounds airy-fairy as crap, but it's interesting, like as a non-Christian, as a Buddhist, I'm allowed to ponder things such as the anatomy of God. I don't think Christians are allowed to think about, God's ears. But, that's the whole thing. Like, there's this whole idea is, ask and you shall receive, pray to God, and you'll receive whatever. And one of the questions that I've always wondered is, what if so many Christians are like literally asking God's kneecaps? Can you imagine that? Like, hey, I really need this from the world. Could you give me this? Can you imagine that? Just a whole bunch of people like praying to like God's kneecaps. Anyway, one of my points with this is I believe God's ears is all of our ears. Again, when they talk about God being omnipresent and omniscient and all those other omnis, right? What if the omniism comes from the ears? Like, what if every creature's ears are God's ears? And so in order to talk to God, you talk to people. Anyways, my point with all of this is, as I've said many times, is by going out there and talking with people and telling them what you need, knowing what the ask is, many times crap can fall into your lap in surprising ways. So again, I went to this like Geeks for Good. I don't know what it is. I went to this meetup, had like 30 geeks at it. Anyways, and I was talking to this one person, I was explaining what Silicon Dojo was, and then they seemed interested, so I said, hey, if you want to come down and see what Silicon Dojo is about, I'd be more than happy to give you a tour. And then they came down, and I was explaining more about Silicon Dojo. We talked about some technology stuff and all that kind of stuff. And then, again, the ask, I was like, oh, yeah, and just, if you know anybody that has used computers, needs to get rid of computers, we do need those. And if you know any place that has like 1,000 square feet, that's a brick, we need 1,000 square foot just block. And then the person was like, hey, you know what? The place that I'm at, I think they're opening up a couple of 1,000 square foot blocks. So I will put you in contact with the person that rents out those 1,000 square foot blocks. And so then I emailed. So then they emailed me, and then I emailed the person immediately. And then that person emailed me today. And then I got here and I grabbed a cup of coffee and I got their email. So then I walked down and I took a look at the 1,000 square foot blocks, and it looks like we're going to be able to get something done. So think about that. By talking, by telling the world what I need, by being out there, not schmoozing, not hard selling, not doing all that crap, but by just being out there around other people with the same, proclivities or whatever, the same interests, and bouncing that and talking about things. You get from one thing to the other. So think about that. Again, that's why you need to go to meetups. Like so many people, like when I tell them they need to go to meetups or something, they're like, yeah, what am I going to get out of it? It's like, I have no idea. I have no idea what you're going to get out of the meetup. You might get an employee. You might get a sponsor. You might get a job. You might find a place that's really good for real estate or whatever. The point is you go and you talk with people, and you offer the people around you things that they might need, and they offer you things that you might need, and then you get crap accomplished. But that's just my opinion. That's just the opinion of somebody that's actually trying to accomplish something. Eli, you're just not a real startup person. You're trying to ship product. Eli, you think like shipping product and building stuff is important. Like, yes, I do. I'm very excited about this. Anyways, one thing leads to another. And again, that's one of the values about jumping in. Again, I got this for a relatively low price, about $600 for the space. One of the reasons I want to jump in and get this space is, again, once you're doing something, it's a hell of a lot easier to sell people on what you're doing. Because again, the entrepreneurs, somebody brought this up, I'd forgotten in that term. There's all kinds of entrepreneurs out there. Basically, people that want to drink beer and they want to be aspirational about being founders, but they don't actually want to do crap. And one of the problems is, in the real world, when you're actually a technology professional, when you're actually a business person, when you're actually doing stuff, there are so many entrepreneurs. Everybody in the world has an idea. Everybody in the world is drinking a beer, talking about how they are gonna revolutionize crap. But then they don't do anything. They spend 5 months designing their business card, and that's about it. So one of the problems, again, is when people go out into the world, one of the biggest tasks for decision makers, I suppose, is literally wading through all the people not doing anything. I've talked about this before, like when you hire somebody. So if you hire somebody, like when I used to hire technicians, I would get 50 resumes. I would literally get 50 resumes for a desktop, service technician. My initial number one job was to throw away 40 of those resumes. Because I can't deal with 50 resumes. I don't have enough time to interview 50 people. I don't have enough time to deal with 50 people. So the job was to go from 50 to 10. And again, all kinds of bad stuff you're not supposed to admit to, but basically a whole bunch of resumes went in the trash simply because the job is to get down to a reasonable number of people that you can actually interview and deal with the recommendations and deal with, right? Again, the same thing is true with like decision makers going out in the world. You have all these entrepreneurs that think creating a business card is a big deal, and the problem is when you've only got so much time, you've only got so much energy, and frankly, you can only drink so much beer in a day, right? Like trying to sort through all the people that will never do anything versus the people that are actually going to do something pretty cool is a difficult task. And so one of the things that you can do to kind of jumpstart yourself is to do something. Right? Again, this may not seem like a lot. Okay, I'm renting a 300 square foot space. I'm starting to do these little meetups, whatever else. Again, I will admit, I'm farther along in this process than I thought I would be in a month and a half, but I will also admit this is not the most impressive thing in the world. But I am actually doing it. This is actually an office space. We are actually doing training and meetups. I actually am doing one-on-one sit-downs with people. I'm actually trying to do tutoring if people show up, right? And so, like, if somebody comes in and they see this, and they say, and basically I can say, this is what I am currently dealing with. This is what I am doing. This is the product that I'm shipping. And what I need in order to scale up is, right? It's a hell of a lot easier to get decision makers excited about you scaling up than it is about you starting. Trying to get somebody from 0 to 30 miles an hour is a pain in the ass. Right? Right? Trying to get people to wake up in the morning and actually do something, again, is not something I understand how to do, quite legitimately, right? But somebody that has a fledgling business that is already producing, that is already bringing in revenue, that is already figuring out the logistics and the workflow, right? Even if you're only making $5,000 a year, it's a hell of a lot easier to scale somebody or to help somebody that's making $5,000 a year and help them to get to $500,000 a year versus getting them from 0 to 5,000. From 0 to $5,000 a year is actually the most difficult thing in the world. Getting people to wake up, getting people to be self-motivated and all that kind of stuff. That's incredibly difficult. 0 to 5,000, that is a pain in the ass. That is a task I never want to have. But once you already get somebody making $5,000 a year, they already have customers, they're already shipping product, they're already doing the workflows. Getting them from there to something a hell of a lot bigger, that's fun, that's exciting, that's enjoyable. You're gonna get a lot of buy-in. So, anyways. Anyway, I've got a meetup tonight. We're going to have our DNS for cybersecurity meetup. And I haven't quite finished all the slides yet. While I was over there talking with the person about the real estate was when I was supposed to be finishing the slides for the meetup tonight. True story. Anyways, we're going to do the meetup tonight. I might be winging it a little bit. We're going to wing it a little bit. Not a lot, just a little. Anyways, what is the main topic of the day? The main topic of the day is applying for jobs that you're underqualified for. TLDW. At this point, 22 minutes in, I'll give you the TLDR. Yes, you should. So this is a question I got from somebody that actually showed up here and did a one-on-one consultation with me. And it's also a question that's come about my entire career. The first time I heard the answer to this particular question was probably like 2000, so 20 some odd years ago at this point. And basically the question is should you apply for jobs where you do not fit the qualifications? And basically the answer is yes. Now I do have to caveat that a little bit. You got to be somewhere in the frickin' ballpark, right? So if you already understand, servers or Active Directory, and then one of the requirements is also to understand MS SQL, right? That is something that you probably want to apply for. Now, to be clear, if you do not even know what the hell a default gateway is, don't apply for a senior level coding job. Again, I've got to spell this out. I got to stipulate this a little bit because some people at home take me a little too literally. But basically, one of the big problems you get to in the tech world is whenever you're looking at help wanted ads and whatever, Indeed, Monster, whatever the hell people are using nowadays, so many of the times the requirements for those help wanted ads are absolutely like ridiculous, like redonkulous, right? You sit there again in the IT world, it'd be like, you have to understand Microsoft Active Directory, and you have to understand SharePoint, and you have to understand MS SQL, and you have to understand this, and you have to understand this, and you have to understand this, and you have to understand this. And a lot of times, again, for the people that have been around for a while, you look at that and you're like, who the hell actually knows all that? I think there's like one person in the world that actually knows that. And the problem that you run into when you see these help wanted ads is that most of the time the help wanted ads are created by the HR department. So the HR department is the one that creates the help wanted ads by basically taking the information that the IT department or the tech department, or, coding department or whatever gives them. The problem is IT and technology people think that they run the world. They think their jobs are the most important thing at any tech company, and anytime they have to do anything that does not relate to technology, it is wasting their time. Even when it's like trying to hire support for your own department. again, I pity anybody that has to deal with some of the IT staff. I know, I've been there, I've seen it. It's horrible. So one of the problems you run into, right, is you have IT managers, IT department heads, and they feel like their work is, what their job is servers or whatever else. They need to hire, they need to have a couple more people on the team. And so basically they go to the HR department and say, hey, we need to put out a job posting so I can get a couple more support people. Well, here's the thing. HR people have no idea what the hell the IT department or the development department does, right? They know they do computers. So what the HR person is going to say is like, okay, so you need what level technician do you need? How many years experience? And then the IT person, the IT manager is going, why do I have to waste my time with HR? This is ridiculous. Don't you understand I have work to do? And you get this out of 40-year-olds, so this isn't a kid thing. Anyways, the HR person like, look, I just need to know. So you want somebody with, 1 to 2 years experience? Of course not. Okay, I don't know. Do you want somebody with 10 years experience? Yeah, sure, 10 years experience. Okay, fine. And this is what the HR person does. 10 years experience. Okay, what do they need? What skills do they need? We got those servers. What is that Microsoft? They need to be qualified Microsoft? Yeah, they need to be required at Microsoft. Okay, is there some certification that's a requirement? Yeah, the MCSE. Yeah. Okay, so MCSE. So 10 years experience, Microsoft servers, MCSE. What other things are they going to be supporting? Well, our backend is MS SQL. Okay, MS SQL. Right. And so basically, you deal with a jackass IT manager trying to deal with an HR person that has no idea what the tech industry is, and basically that's what you end up with the help wanted at. And so that's why you get so many times. One of my biggest frustrations in life is I should have gone for more not just jobs, but contracts that required MS SQL. So MS SQL is Microsoft's database system, all right? And here's the thing. I'm not qualified for MS SQL. I am not qualified for Microsoft's database system. I know very little about it. I know MySQL, so I know structured query language, so I guess I could probably get in there and do something if I really had to. But I know nothing about this. But the funny part is you do not know how many times both on jobs and contracts, I would see something like, needs an MCSE or whatever and MS SQL. Here's the thing to understand. Why they're saying MS SQL is because MS SQL is the back end. So you have some custom app that the company is using, and that app ties into MS SQL. Do you know what you need to understand as far as MS SQL is concerned in order to be the technician or get the contract? Essentially, all you need to understand is how to type in the credentials so that when you install the app on the client's computer, that it can connect to the database and it can do the communication properly. That's all you need. You're not going to be doing database maintenance. You're not going to be doing database replication. You're not going to be doing database clustering or anything else. You just need to know how to plug into the front end, how to connect to the database, and that's basically where your job ends. But, right, especially for my era, so many of these jobs said that they required MS SQL, and you do not oh God, there were times where, again, that was the thing. Like, I remember this one contract I lost out on because they needed somebody that understood MS SQL. It's like, whatever. And then they were looking for somebody for the contract, and then I kind of got put in there as a temporary thing. Like, well, we'll hire you temporarily until we can find somebody that can really do it. And I had already been very honest that I didn't understand MS SQL. And then I went there, and I dealt with their clients, and I did the work. And then like, oh, when you say experience with MS SQL, all you mean is you have a front end that's connecting to the MS SQL database, and that's it. Oh, well. Right? It was a very frustrating experience. But that's the thing, right? So the HR person is simply putting down whatever the hell the IT department says that they need, and the IT person is generally not actually sitting there and figuring out what they need. So you get this insane list of requirements that nobody can fulfill because the IT manager is frankly just not doing their job. And then past that, one of the things that you have to realize is that, again, bosses are people. Bosses work in the same reality that you do. One of the big problems we have, like when I talk about things like bigotry, one of the reasons that I talk about this being such a problem is because I see this in the world, and it's not just about people of color or disadvantaged people or women or whatever else. It's so much where people have ideas. They have stories in their heads about other people that don't necessarily have a darn thing to do with that actual other person, but they interact with that person based off the story in their head, right? Again, this is where I talk about the boss or the owner of your company has a wife, has a kid, has parents. Their kid may be on drugs, right? Their kid may be, getting, snorting crack every night and doing whatever. And so when you come in with your stupid ass problems, yes, they might be a little short with you because they have so much stress going on in the rest of their lives. Again, when you look at your manager, when you look at your boss, when you look at your owner, do you think about their relationship with their spouse? Do you think about their relationship with their kids? Do you think about whether or not their parents have heart conditions or something else? Probably not with most people, right? Well, they're the boss. They're the authority figure. And again, that's bigotry. If you are interacting with somebody based off of a story in your head, right, and not with the person that is actually sitting in front of you, it doesn't matter the color of the skin, nor the position in society, nor their gender, that is bigotry. When you deal with people based off of your story about them and not about reality, that is bigotry. And so one of the big problems we have, again, with the concept of bigotry is how it hurts you. So a lot of people have this idea of bosses and owners, and they're up on these frickin' pedestals, and they're whatever, smacking the masses or whatever. The problem is that bosses and owners have jobs just like you. The difference between your job and their job is that you don't really see what their job is most of the time, so you don't really understand why they're getting paid, and so it seems like they're getting paid for nothing. Again, when you see the boss going off to 5 cocktail parties a week and drinking and schmoozing and doing all of that kind of stuff, it's like, oh yeah, my lazy, pathetic boss, all they're doing is going to cocktail parties all the time and schmoozing. Yeah, they're so pathetic. Let me tell you, as somebody that had to go to a lot of those cocktail parties, they suck. There's so much work. I would rather be in a server room. Most of the time, I would rather be in a server room than actually go to these crappy ass cocktail parties. Because you go to the crappy ass cocktail party and you grab your little drink and you listen to the music and you smile. Oh, why are you here? Oh, well, that's very interesting. Well, see, what I'm doing is Silicon Dojo. Yeah, I wonder if we have any synergy between our companies. Here, let me grab your information. Okay, I'm going to grab my information. Oh, it's freaking tedious. You know what it's like to do like 8 hours of schmoozing? Sucks, right? But anyway, people have this idea. People have this idea of what bosses are like. And so one of the big things with bosses is that bosses are gonna hire the best. They're gonna hire the cheapest, and they're gonna hire the best because they're whatever, capitalist scum. The problem is, in the reality, as a boss, when Silicon Dojo grows to the point where I can actually have employees, you're right, I am going to hire the best. ... That applies. ... That I can afford. ... That is willing to work with whatever constraints that are required. ... See, here's the thing. Everybody wants to hire the next, was it Joan Ives or whatever? Joan Ivy? Tim Cook, Bill Gates, Steve Ballmer, right? Steve Ballmer may be an a-hole, but apparently he's a good employee, right? Here's the thing. There's only so many of those. There's only so many of that type of employee in the world. And so when you put out your help wanted ad, right, on Indeed or whatever else, you're going to get 50 resumes back. And the reality is most of them are not going to hit all of your requirements. Some of them that hit your requirements are going to require twice what you were able to pay. It's not even going to be a question about whether or not you can afford them. And then the other people are going to have any number of other issues. So one of the things as a boss is at the end of the day, you are going to hire the best person that is available that you can afford, and many other things that go along with it. So one of the things to realize when you're going to apply for a job and you see requirements that you don't have, just remember that's what the boss wants. The boss definitely wants a senior level, a Java developer who also knows C#, who also knows MongoDB, who has 25 years experience and is willing to work for $12.50 an hour. Yeah. I mean, I'd hire that. But that's probably not going to show up, right? So you sit there and you look at the requirements. And one of the big things is that you have the major requirements, right? Again, so if you're going to be going in, you're going to be doing systems administration. If you're going to be doing systems administration, obviously you need to know Windows Server. You need to know Active Directory. You probably need to know some Linux, right? So those are the things that you need to know. But then under that, you're going to see a whole bunch of other crap. SharePoint. Administer SharePoint, right? How long is it really going to take you to learn how to administer SharePoint? Probably not long. Again, MS SQL. Again, MS SQL, that's a whole database system. That may actually take some time to learn, but the reality is you're probably not going to actually touch it anyway, right? There's going to be all these other requirements under there that are basically just kind of like fill in the blank requirements that, of course, the IT manager, the boss or the owner or whatever want, but the reality is that they're probably not going to get. And so if you sit there and you see that you fit the major requirements, then just go out there and put out your resume for the job and see if you actually get hired. I remember that again when I was flying all over the country. When I was flying all over the country, right, building $500,000 build outs for my company in the whole 9 yards. That was I went to my human resources person. After like 6 months. So once I was confident in my skill level. Once I was not worried about being fired anymore. I then went to the human resources person and I said, hey, not that I'm complaining now. I'm fully up to speed. You all know I'm fully up to speed. I'm actually one of the better people on the team. I'm hitting all my numbers and all that. And I looked at her and I said, but I'm actually kind of curious why you hired me. Because again, for my first, IT job, we had to do telephone systems, we had to do networking, we had to do sysadmin, we had to do desktop support, I had to build out offices. There's a lot of stuff. So I'm sitting there looking at the human resources person. I'm like, I don't really understand why you guys hired me. I was literally not qualified for this job. And she looked at me and she said, well, the person that hired you, they really liked your motivation and all that, and you're the cheapest candidate. I was like, what? I'm like, yep. Well, there you go. There you go. I got hired because I was cheap. Because if you wanted a senior person that had telephone systems and networking and systems administration and desktop support, you were going to be paying a lot of money. For whatever reason, the company didn't want to pay that much money. They're a decent-sized company. They were bringing in a lot of revenue, but they just didn't want to pay the market rate for somebody that could have actually done the job walking in the door. So they hired me, which was great for me because I got like 5 years experience, like 1 year. But that's just one of those things to sit there and think about. Again, so, if you see a job and, again, you have the main skills. So, PHP or Python or Java, you have that. And then underneath they have, again, maybe some databases. Like you need to know Python and MongoDB, or you need to know, Java and X, Y, or Z. I would argue just apply for the job. If you have that main thing and you basically understand what they're going for, go for that main job and then see what happens. Especially if you're a coder, do realize right now, coders really are in demand. Again, IT people, you're gonna go through a hiring process. Coders, not so much, right? Most companies need coders. They need developers. Developers are in high demand. So, why this is important is that if you put your resume in for the job, even if you may not hit that particular job, also realize they may have 10 other positions that are open. Or they may just need to hire more developers, period. So you put your thing in, you may not hit the particular requirements for that job, but they may need, oh, look, this person only knows Java or only knows Python. That's fine. We'll have this person start working on some of these modules or whatever else, and then we'll shift around somebody else in the company to do the higher level work that needs to be done. These are all the things to consider. So remember, bosses, owners, whatever else, they absolutely will hire the best person that applies, that they can afford, that fits enough of the requirements, so on and so forth. Because again, like with these companies, remember, like with budgets, like companies are given budgets, and if they don't use the budget, a lot of times they lose the money. So again, if you're an IT director and you're given a budget to hire somebody, one of the concerns is that if you don't spend that money, it may go away, right? You may have to refight for that money every so long a time period. So if you have that money, you have a relatively good candidate in front of you. From the manager's point of view, it's better just to spend that money, lock in that budget now, and then if you're not quite up to snuff, then they can fire you later, or then they can try to get more money or figure something else out, down the pike. So just something to realize. Again, if you don't know how to swap a hard drive, don't try to become a sysadmin. But like I say, if that's the thing. Like if you're good in let's say Server 2012. Let's say you've been working on Server 2012 for 5 years, and then you see a requirement that Server 2019. You must have 5 years experience in Server 2019. But it's only 2021, so Server 2019 only came out a couple of years ago. I don't think anybody can have 5 years experience in Server 2019. That doesn't make a damn bit of sense, right? But that's the thing. You look at that, you're like, well, I don't have 5 years experience. Look, you got experience in 2012. If you understand Server 2012, you can figure out Server 2019. You'll be fine. So yeah, apply. I think the big thing is to ask yourself if it's a waste of time. Like when you look at that job, the requirements or whatever, do you think it is so far above your level there's no possible way that you could actually do it? That's probably the time that you don't put in the resume. But generally, as long as like horseshoes and hand grenades, like big hand grenades, big horseshoes, big hand grenades, as long as you're somewhere close, yeah, just apply. You'll be surprised. You might actually get hired. Because remember, bosses are people too. I know we're not allowed to say it in this world. Right now especially, we are not allowed to say the words, bosses are humans too. And sometimes they have the same constraints as everybody else does. So, something to sit there, think about, and ponder. So anyways, I'm going to try to do a couple more minutes of my keynote presentation. So this is not a complete cluster when I do my seminar tonight. Ooh, I'm getting itchy. Got to take my allergy pills. Anyways, so I'm gonna go do that. So something to think about. Very excited here though. Very excited. We may be getting a big old block of space. I'd be excited to get that block of space. It's like, how much is that block of space gonna be? How much is that block of space in the window? How much is this block of space to me? Don't know. So anyways, I gotta go do some work. Things to think about. If you want to support Silicon Dojo, because we do need your support, because it's going to cost a couple of dollars. One way or another, the next place is going to cost us a couple more dollars. So we do need more support. So if you want to support Silicon Dojo, donorbox.com/ETCG. That would be lovely if you could throw some money in. Again, free to the end user tech education. Somebody's still got to pay for it. Somebody has still got to pay for that block, that very expensive block. So again, $5 a month from a whole bunch of people actually turns into some real money. So if you want, this aspirational, it's an aspirational sell. Do you want someplace in the world where people can just come and they can just learn, hands-on learn technology? They can come in, they can learn technology, they can take as long as they need. It is a welcoming environment. When they walk in the door, they're told, welcome to Silicon Dojo. We are happy to have you here. What would you like to learn today? Wouldn't that be amazing if that's how education worked? I know, that's how crazy I am. Anyways, if you want to support that, think about supporting Silicon Dojo. We do have sponsorships available. I mean, they're not big, but if you want like see where that Spiceworks is, that is $100 a month. The little thing under that is $50 a month. And these things over here, they will be $250 a month. And for that, you get the things. So when people come in, they see it. And when I do videos, they see it. You will also get links on my videos. That's actually probably the bigger value at the moment, to be honest with you. So if you have a budget and you're thinking about where you could spend that budget, sponsor Eli the Computer, and then you can write it off on your taxes. Again, we are not a 501c3, so when you send money to us normally, it's not written off on your taxes. But if you buy advertising, that is actually an expense, so you could write that off on your taxes. Just something to think about if you want to support this. So there's that. If you want a one-on-one meeting with me, go to silicondojo.com, right-hand side. There's one-on-one meetings. Tutoring. Nobody's taken me up on the tutoring yet, but tutoring is now available. Tech tutoring. If you want to know DNS or TCP/IP or networking or whatever else, you can come in for tutoring. The meetup, obviously, we have the meetup tonight, which is DNS for cybersecurity. I swear it'll be a good meetup. I just have to finish the keynote. I know what I'm saying. I just need the slides to go along with it. Anyways, we have the meetup, and then next week we're actually doing computer vision, easy computer vision, beginners welcome. So that'll be the meetup next week. So these are all the things that I'm doing here. So support Silicon Dojo. Yay. Anyways, I've got to go and finish up my keynote presentation. Because work. It's not all about drinking beer and talking about changing the world. Sometimes you got to create keynote presentations. A lot of your time is spent creating keynote presentations. Anyways, I got to go. See y'all later.